is the December 16th, 3 o'clock, Cocoa Beach Police Pension Board meeting
And fire.
and fire. We'll do the roll call for the police. Dan? Bill?
Present.
Joe?
Present.
Greg?
Present.
Dan's absent.
Okay, roll call on the fire side. AJ?
Present.
Latham?
Here.
Michelle here. Dean?
Here.
Stephen?
Present.
Okay, all present. Okay, public comment? No?
No public comment.
Okay.
Okay, so basically now the police board needs to appoint a chairman, seeing how Chris Kuhn has resigned. So out of the four of you, you have to appoint a chairman.
Do we have anybody who wants this job?
I'm too new. I assumed it would be you, Tommy.
You're in the seat.
Okay. We need to vote on that?
Yeah, who need a
Yes,
motion?
please, just,
Yeah.
it'll be a motion to nominate.
Okay, who's making the motion? Greg's making the motion? Okay, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Congratulations, sympathies, whichever.
We do welcome Greg as our new board member.
Yeah, welcome,
He
Greg.
was voted on earlier this afternoon. So we're back up to full board. Do we need to do anything on old news?
Yes, basically you have your summary plan description that needs to be signed and the admin contract needs to be signed. I have them up here and we'll do that at the end of the day.
Okay.
And we'll get those taken care of.
Okay. Okay, has everybody seen the minutes for September the 4th? Everybody, anybody have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll give a motion to approve.
Motion by Bill, second by Joe. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay, and the fire side?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay. We're up to expenses. Everybody seen the expenses? Any questions? I have a question, Debbie. It says January will start with back pay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's on the admin fee? Is that what you're talking about? Yes, because my fee was appointed for October 1st, but it's not signed, so
So
it's going to
some of
be
it hasn't been
retro
paid.
back to October
Okay.
1st. Yes, that's what that's
All
for.
right.
Okay?
I just thought, well, why aren't we paying her? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the expenses?
Motion to accept.
Second.
I'll second.
Greg seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, and the fire side, any questions on expenses? Motion? Accept?
Motion accept by me?
Second.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Second by Dean?
Second.
Motion by me, second by Dean.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, Debbie wants to talk about the expenses.
Okay. The expenses, as you know, last meeting, last quarter, on the police side, we had to increase the budget because of the 2 disability downfalls that we had. And so we increased it by $25,000. So at the end of the fiscal year, we increased it to $122,400. And we have, left in the budget was $970.25, so we were not in the red, so we were good. And then on the fire side, they were fine. All the expenses were paid, and they spent $81,013.99, and left in their budget was $16,386.01, and they didn't have a disability. So that's what the expenses, so on those you need to approve the expense report, because we'll have to send that to the state.
We need to approve it.
Yes, ma'am. Sir.
Do we have a motion to approve the expenses as presented by Debbie?
So this is essentially, there's two mandatory disclosures that the state requires at the beginning of the fiscal year. Excuse me. Good afternoon. My name is Pedro Herrera. I think for the newest trustees, I serve as the attorney for both pension funds. So part of the disclosures at the beginning of the fiscal year, the board will adopt a proposed budget, administrative budget. It's not like local government or, what you see in the federal government, right? It's not a balanced budget. It's really more similar to maybe something you would do, kind of keep at your own home, right? Where you kind of just track expenses and so on. There's no consequence to exceed the budget, only that you would convene, adopt a revised budget, and then we have to file it with the plan sponsor, with the city in this case. And then the bookend to that is at the end of the year, you approve your final accounting, right, which is what you actually spent. So you have your proposed budget essentially telling the public, this is what we think we're going to spend, and then you kind of bookend that with your final account. This is what we actually spent.
We need a
Motion.
motion
Yes, sir.
to accept it as we presented it.
I'll do that motion.
I'll second.
Bill, Joe second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Budget passed.
Motion to accept on the fire side?
Motion to accept by me?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the meetings for the coming year. I don't think we need a motion on those, do we?
No, I think if you
These are
like just
proposed
board
dates.
You just,
board
Everybody good with the
consensus, if
dates?
everybody's okay with the dates, that should be fine.
Okay. Debbie, you want to tell us about insurance?
no? Hold on a minute. Okay. Basically, on the insurance side is, I've sent out 3 proposals, and 2 of the 3 of the same company use the same company that we're using. So on Alliant, what we've done is since the assets have increased, our pension has come down. So on the fire side, your budget was, the amount was $3,509.75 for this year, and you're down $724.25 from the previous year, which is a good savings. Same thing with the police side. This year it's $4,074.34. And we saved $718.19 because of the assets were more. So we're down. So
No.
we did good.
Why is the police so much more than fire? Do you know?
Because I think the assets
Are
at
the
that
assets
time
different?
probably were a little bit different between police and fire.
Membership is higher, it's more members too.
Pardon me?
There's more members, but. It would be based on.
Let's see, it says here, it looks like both funds saw an increase in assets from the last set of financials on the file from 2004 to 2005. And they're about the same. but you-
asset value.
Right, but it looks, they said that the premiums increased from 2004, but only around 2%. Because I asked that question, why, what the difference was, and they said because it was the assets that were increased.
The assets, actually, the fire has more assets than the police.
But Well, I think the assets at the time when I submitted it was the evaluation from last year that Foster & Foster gave us.
Do you have a agent you deal with that could give us an explanation?
Yeah, Jamie's the one, Angela's the one that did this one, so I can get a hold of Angela
Yeah.
and that, and,
So, if the board is comfortable, there's a couple of things you could do. I'm hesitant to wait until your next meeting just to bind the insurance.
Oh, we have to.
So, right, so I was just gonna make the suggestion, if the boards are comfortable, you could, make a motion to approve the binding of the policy, contingent on Debbie, getting a response in terms of why there's a difference in the premiums.
yeah. 'cause-
And subject to final, ratification by each respective chair, if you like. And then, worst case scenario, we can come back to the next meeting.
Well,
If you don't like it or you don't want it, we could always cancel
We'll
it.
approve what she has, and then if it changes, we'll deal with that at the time.
Right,
Sure.
because right now, they've already done a soft extension on this, because since our meetings are late in the month, they were actually due at the end of November, so they've already
Sure.
extended it, so.
Yeah. Okay, we need a motion to approve the expenditure for the insurance.
I'll make that motion.
Greg,
I'll second it.
Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On the fire side, Debbie, just to clarify, the budget was, we estimated 6,500 and we came in a little over 4?
No, I'm sorry, what was the
For the
question?
fire, yes, it's a little over 4,000.
Okay. But we had put in the budget 6,500,
Yes.
Okay.
And this year, it's only 3,500.
so we're coming in
Oh,
under
yes, so we're
budget.
coming underneath, yes.
So that's significant decrease, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Any questions, fire? No, motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second,
I'm sorry,
Motion to accept.
okay, Latham and,
Second,
okay.
AJ.
second, AJ, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're now ready for the report from Carrie. And she's gonna tell us that we have passed 20 million, which I've been looking for a long time.
Stealing my thunder, Tony.
Yeah, it's exciting.
No, I actually have really good news for you all today, so it's great to be with you. Good afternoon, Greg. Look forward to working with you. Welcome. I will start in the economic section of both of your books, which those of you that have been with us for a little while know the charts that start on page 3. And just say, from a public markets standpoint, it was a very good number, very good quarter when you look at the numbers. And you can look at that top right chart and see, first of all the bars go to the right. That means positive results for U.S. equities, which is the top section in blue, overseas equities in the middle in orangish yellow, and then fixed income or bonds in the bottom in red. And I think, the economy has held up pretty well. The GDP numbers were pretty positive and surprised a little bit to the upside for the quarter. A lot of that is coming from continued enthusiasm and CapEx spending around AI, the future of AI, the potential of AI, AI beneficiaries, et cetera. So when you look at that top right chart, you see over 8% for the S&P 500. Very good absolute number for the quarter. We'd be happy to get that in any given year, never mind in a quarter. But do keep in mind that the concentration we've talked a lot about did continue. So about 70% of that 8% for the S&P came from those magnificent 7 names we've talked a lot about. Alphabet, Apple had a great quarter, NVIDIA, some of those same ones that we've talked about. Those very technology-focused related names continue to really lead the way. I think in the background, as I mentioned, good GDP numbers. Sentiment is starting to kind of decline a little bit of softening in sort of the jobs out there as well. But I think one positive through the quarter also was we did get a 25 basis point cut from the Fed. Markets always like that. We've seen 2 since then. So sort of a mixed picture, I would say, behind the scenes. But as I said, very good numbers from an equity market standpoint in the U.S. Overseas markets, also very strong. In that middle section, the top bar is the all country ex-US, essentially everybody but us, up 7. Developed markets in the middle, up 5. And then emerging markets were really the big story for the quarter. You can see those up double digits. A few different things going on here. China had been pretty undervalued for a while. That made a nice comeback. They kind of stayed out of the news. They've taken some stimulative measures for their economy. Put all that together, those numbers were good. And then also you saw some sort of supply chain realignment, countries that will benefit from that, like Taiwan and Mexico, also up for the quarter. And then, as I mentioned, even within bonds in the bottom there, 2% return for the quarter for the full aggregate. If we move in your books to the bottom of page 10, where we look at the last 4 quarters sort of in interest rates on this chart, the gray line on the bottom right of page 10 is where we finished September 30th. And you can see rates dropped a bit on the front end of the curve in response to what the Fed was doing, but we're pretty stagnant across the rest of the curve. So a lot of the return you saw coming from fixed income was actually just the income, which is a good thing. So, these numbers, very good numbers to finish our fiscal year. When we kind of bake them into your managers and your segments and you see the top line number for the fiscal year, I think you'll be very happy. But just know that kind of risk on environment sort of continues, particularly within mid and small cap US equities. You've seen things like rare earths providers, supercomputing names, power sources associated with kind of powering the data centers needed for AI. It's not necessarily sort of high return on equity, quality companies with defensible moats. It's really all been kind of around that AI theme. But again, very good numbers for the quarter, which put us in really a stellar position for the fiscal year for both funds. If I move in your books to what is page number 13 on the bottom left, we include in your books every quarter, this is a line graph of the growth of your fund. So the gray segment at the bottom represents if we basically took contributions, took out expenses, and benefits and did not invest it, that's sort of where we would be in the gray segment. The blue line follows the market value of your funds. And you can see, and I'll start with Fire in that top segment. Fire was just shy of 21 million, about 20.8 million to end the quarter. Police was about 20.4 million. Very nice growth over time, going back 10 years. You can see in the bottom, and I'll start again with Fire. Over the last 10 years, we were just shy of 11 million 10 years ago. We had a net cash flow of almost negative 3 million. We've earned 13 million in that time, getting us to that almost 21 million. And that return over 10 years has been 8.8%. On the police side, very similarly, about 10.7 million 10 years ago. 3.3 million came out, over 13 million in gains, and putting us at that 20.4 million and 8.7% return for the last 10-year period for police. So very good numbers for both funds, very happy to say that. If we advance one page from there to what is number 14 at the bottom, this is sort of a high-level view of where the assets are by type for each of the pension funds. And across the very top banner, we show the value where we started the quarter and the value where we ended the quarter. And I'm on Fire first. Fire was just north of 20 million, about 20.2 million to start the quarter. Again, ended at about 20.9. For police, over the same period, we were at about 19.8 million to begin the quarter. We ended at about 20.4 million, so very nice pickup there. From an asset allocation standpoint, Fire, you were just north of 52% in U.S. equity. I'm going to round up to just about 17% in international equity in your fund. About 15.5% of the fund was in domestic fixed income. About 4% was in global fixed income. Just shy of 10, about 9.5% was in real estate. And then a couple percent in cash for ongoing benefits and expenses. On the police side, very similar. I'm going to round up to about 53% domestic equity, about 16% international equity, also 15.5% in domestic fixed income, also just about 4% in global fixed. just under 10% in real estate, and a negligible amount of cash for police as well. So that's sort of our high-level view of where things are. If we go from there just a little bit to 19 in each of the books, this is what I'd call a relative view of your asset allocation. And so what you see on this page is along the left-hand side, each type of asset. And then what you see off to the right-hand side is a gray shaded box. That's what we call your range in your investment policy, or sort of your, the lowest amount permitted and the highest amount permitted for each type of asset. The black line shows you our target, or where we aim to be. And then the triangle shows you where the portfolio actually was at the end of the quarter. And in summary, when we look at these pages, the first thing that we're looking for is to make sure that the triangles reside within the gray shaded boxes. And if they do, that means we're totally compliant with our investment policy. And you do see that for both of your funds. In both funds, we are a little bit overweight in domestic and international equity. Not a big surprise. Those segments have performed very well. We're pretty much right in line with domestic fixed income for both. We're pretty much on target, slightly underweight global fixed income. And real estate, on both funds, we've run underweight on purpose in some ways. We have ASB, your real estate manager, we've requested a redemption from them, so that piece is kind of running off. Just recently, at your last meeting, we committed to Mavic, or real estate debt strategy. Debbie and I, just within the last couple days, got the email back that your documents have been accepted. So over time, we'll start to commit some money to that fund. That is done, but obviously we were not there by September 30th. But kind of just looking at these pages in summary, I'm very comfortable with where both funds are. From time to time, if we have excess cash or if we need to raise cash, I always pull your value as of the most recent day so that I can take from wherever you might be overweight. It's kind of a nice natural rebalance. But that to say, everything's very nicely in line with the investment policy for both funds. Very happy to say that. If I go to page 22 in each of your respective books, that's where the performance for the quarter lies. And each of your funds, and I'll just speak net of fees, each of your funds were up just about 4% for the quarter after fees. The benchmark was slightly north of that, about 5.5%. And a lot of that has to do with domestic equity, as I mentioned, the narrowness, the AI names that you're probably really tired of hearing me say. The rest of the segments in your portfolio actually did really well. It was just particularly the growth segment that struggled a little bit. But I think the stellar news is on the fiscal year. Police, you were up about 12.1. Fire, you're up about 12.3 net of fees. That's really excellent. You can see your peer ranks kind of 9th and 12th percentile. So really a successful fiscal year, and very happy to be able to say that for both of your funds. Within the individual segments, and equity overall for both funds, that's US and international, we were up about 5. As I mentioned, in domestic equity, that's where kind of a lot of the underperformance came from, and particularly Winslow, which is one line under your domestic equity there. In this incredibly narrow market, just not holding Apple, trimming some NVIDIA, and not having Tesla, you can see for Winslow, that was a significant drag. They gave you a +3, that growth index was up over 10. That's how meaningful just those few names in their performance has been kind of lately. The good news is the rest of the roster held up pretty well. You've got Touchstone in the mid-cap growth segment. That did outperform by about 0.5% over the index there. You've got Vanguard Extended Index. Obviously, that's just kind of matching everything below the S&P. That was up almost 9. And then on the value side, Vanguard Equity Income, very good performance, up almost 6% and slightly ahead of the index. Brandywine did trail a bit. They've been overweight financials. That segment didn't do as well for the quarter. And some of the kind of low return on equity, sort of lower quality metrics outperformed. That's a challenge for them. But I think that's kind of just an indication of where the market has been. If you move over on the fiscal year to date, both funds very much closer to policy there. Winslow held up a lot better on the fiscal. But this quarter was challenging, again, in this continued very concentrated market that we've seen. Internationally speaking, that segment was up, again, slightly north of 7.5% for both of your funds. We got very good absolute numbers from both Euro-Pacific and from DFA. Euro-Pacific did trail a little bit. They've been underweight China. They also had some of their names like Novo Nordisk that pulled back a little bit for the quarter. but that was nicely offset by DFA on the value side. So putting those two together, we did beat the index there. Within fixed income, overall, we were up just shy of 2.5% and ahead of the index, which was up about 1.7. Within U.S. fixed income, Dodge & Cox, very credit-heavy manager, gave you 2.5% over their index. PIMCO Global, also good absolute performance of over 2% from that segment. And then ASB on the real estate side, some of the restructuring they've done over the last couple of years has helped, and that segment was marginally positive for the quarter, up a little over 1%, and gave you about 4% on the fiscal. So we're seeing a little bit of green shoots in real estate. Tommy was asking me, hey, are we still moving on? I think the answer is yes. What I would envision is over the next couple of quarters, we will benchmark ASB against some other managers that we follow in the space. You always have the right, if you've changed your mind about ASB, to rescind the redemption request. But I think in the next few quarters, we'll take a look at that. We'll look at them as compared to their peers and sort of decide what the long-term plan is for that core allocation. But that being said, excellent fiscal year for both of you being up over 12%. Those are some of the best numbers that I've seen, and I'm really happy for your funds. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have about that performance.
Carrie, did you say Winslow, I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Yes.
Winslow, what, de-invested from some of the Magnificent Seven?
Yeah,
Is
they've
that
had no Apple. Apple had a great quarter.
Yeah.
They trimmed some NVIDIA, and it continued to do really well. And no Tesla. And those three things really were the main detractors for them for the quarter, which is pretty crazy. That's just a sign of really how narrow the performance has been. I do have intermediate updates for you all through close of business on the 11th. And both of your funds have gained a little bit in value since then. So I'll just hand you these if you don't mind to pass, that'd be great. This is for Fire, it should be police. Markets kind of continue to rock and roll, so hopefully you'll be happy with that. And then one item that Dan Cavavasio had asked me for, which is sort of ironic since he's the only one that's not here today, but we've talked a little bit about, Bitcoin, the potential for adding a very small amount of Bitcoin. So I did refresh the analysis that we looked at a couple of quarters ago, which is basically to say, if we had taken 2%, one out of bonds, one out of equities, and put it in the Bitcoin, IBIT is kind of the ETF that tracks Bitcoin's prices, how you would have done. So your actual performance is simulated across the top. If you'd had Bitcoin as what is in blue, Bitcoin's pulled back a little bit on the quarter and on the year-to-date basis, so those numbers aren't significantly different. We actually did slightly better. On the 1 year, though, it is still about 50 basis points better. I will tell you, I still don't see any funds that are doing it. I don't know, Pedro, if you have seen any. I know there's a couple of our clients that have talked about it, but I really haven't seen kind of any pension funds make that move in Florida that we work with. I know there's some kind of here and there, but.
No, I agree. I have not, I don't have any plans.
Does your firm have a recommendation one way or the other on Bitcoin?
We don't take that approach because we believe every client is different, every situation is different. So we do have some folks on the wealth side that use it and the ability for them to use it. Again, I think we're keeping an eye on kind of what's going on in the space as it relates to public funds. And again, I don't think adoption has really kind of picked up in our space.
The only place that I've seen it, and if I believe it was a holding, it was an alternative investment, it was in a private equity fund.
Yeah.
And that, that fund invested in some of the, I don't even know the terminology, blockchain?
Yes, that's exactly it. Was it Accolade by any chance? I know they're
Right.
doing some picks, what we call picks and shovels, which is essentially maybe not investing in coins, but investing in the infrastructure that coins might need and the inputs that the coins might need. And so that's exactly right.
But that wasn't a direct investment
Yes.
by the pension fund per se. It was, obviously through a fund and that fund purchased.
Does Bitcoin
Yes.
come under any kind of securities that we're approved for?
That's a good question.
I don't think it's covered in the investment investment policy, because I think.
I don't- yeah, I mean, I think you would have
It's an
to-
alternative investment, so we would need to modify the
You would have,
investment
Yes.
I
strategy.
agree. You would have to
Yes.
modify your investment policy. I'm just checking if the ordinance actually prohibits it, just as a threshold matter.
I think it prohibits possibly futures markets, and it could
It
be.
seems
I
to
think
me
that's
it's a-
right, Michelle.
Alternative.
I'll pull it up, but I think that's
Speculative-
right.
Speculative for a pension fund.
It could either be futures or alternatives. I've seen it both ways.
You know, it's dropped from, what, 120,000 to less than 90 in the last few months.
And I think that's kind of what you're seeing come through in those numbers. If the last time we looked at it, for each time period, and again, it's a very short period of time because I just use the iShares, kind of pretty widely known ETF. But we were about 50 basis points under the Bitcoin allocation for every period last time we looked at it. Now that gap has closed some because of some of that pullback that you've
If we
seen.
bought it 6 months ago, we would have lost a lot of money.
And I think the other thing is, with the price being so volatile and with kind of, that, again, just the behavior being as volatile as it is how do you sort of rebalance nimbly? Like if you wanted that to be 2% and all of a sudden it went to 5 or it went to, almost 0, how do we be nimble about kind of reallocating that? I think that's part of the challenge of an allocation like that. That's one of the things I know that we're kind of struggling with as we think about that.
So just generally speaking, it seems like your ordinance would allow for it. Obviously 185 has certain provisions, to your point, but it also allows for locally, each board to amend what it can invest in with certain limitations, right? We can't change the international exposure, for example. But here it says, notwithstanding any limitation provided in chapter 185, or any limitation in prior city ordinances to the contrary, all monies paid into or held in the fund may be invested and reinvested in such securities, investment vehicles, or property wherever situated and of whatever kind as shall be approved by the board, including but not limited to common or preferred stocks, bonds, or other evidence of indebtedness or ownership. And then it has some other language allowing for investment in kind of in group trusts and commingled vehicles and things like that. So it seems like your ordinance would allow for it, but to your point earlier, we'd have to kind of go through some other steps in terms of revising the investment policy statement and the like, so.
Okay.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
On page 14, looking at the cash, shows 293,000. And on this form that you just passed out, everything's pretty similar except for the cash is 942,000.
Yeah, so contributions came in, and just a few days ago, Debbie and I actually worked with Salem to invest a lot of that excess cash, but it's contributions that came in after 10/1. So we reported to you at 9:30, obviously that's through December, so for both funds, quite a bit of contributions came in. That's a great question, Joe. You'll see for both funds, that cash number was very large. Debbie and I have worked with Salem to get that excess cash invested, so you no longer have so much in cash.
Good observation.
I like cash.
I like cash too, but I'm liking it less and less
Don't
with
like
every
any
Fed
money.
cut, because you're just not getting paid as much. You're at about 3.5 now. In the heyday, we were at 5. I can feel great about that, that's fine. But as we're going 3.5 and then to 3, and then I think it's time to kind of deploy in other places, so.
Gary, I had not sure I heard your comment, kind of play a little bit of catch up on this. On ASB.
Yes.
Are you reviewing their performance or reviewing real estate as an investment?
So that is a great question, Greg. We like the space, but we will benchmark ASB against other managers. They'd had quite a bit of performance struggles. Some of that related to kind of older assets, including office. Some of it was honestly, they didn't use a lot of leverage like their peers did when times were good. So they had some performance challenges. The way that fund works, we both funds have entered the redemption queue, but the way that fund works is they give us our money slowly over time as they're able to sell assets and reposition the portfolio. So we still have, 9-ish% with them right now. Over time, we will look at the performance of managers that do similar things against them because we may go with a different fund once we've got the room to do that. But I still like core real estate. It's just ASB's position in the portfolio that is in question.
Net Canoe Intelligence, can you explain that?
Yes, we started to utilize a service called Canoe that helps us gather statements for our alternative investments. And I know that word's going to sound foreign because really all we use here is real estate. But essentially, we asked for permission for them to help us pull our data and sort of aggregate it. And so that was done. It's a pretty well-known service. It's actually used by custodians like Principal. It's used by a lot of very large asset managers. But that's kind of why it's an efficiency for us in gathering data, essentially. We were comfortable with their security protocols, again, kind of their reputation in the industry, and that's how we chose them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Carrie.
Okay,
To you.
Pedro is here in person.
My condolences to everybody. So fortunately, nothing really to report, which is always, it's always a good thing. Since this is the December meeting and we do have some newer faces, for the varsity faces, I apologize and bear with me for a little bit, but usually since this is the gift giving season, I usually take this opportunity just to give you a little bit of a refresher, a little primer course on your obligations under state ethics laws. So by virtue of your service on the board, you are technically considered a public official, so therefore subject to state ethics laws. And so what that means is if you're given something, regardless of the value that you believe is being given to you in some way, shape, or form to influence your decisions on the board, you should obviously reject that. I don't think you guys get lobbied too often for our important decisions on the retirement plan, but just in case we're all aware. Anything valued at $100 or more, similarly, you should not accept that. You should return it to sender, donate it, throw it away. And we always recommend just advising the state that you received the gift, who gave it to you, and the disposition of it, right, what you did with it. Anything valued between $25 and $100, you can accept it. There is a reporting requirement, however, on behalf of the person, company, entity that gives you the gift. And then anything valued at $25 or less, you can accept it, and there's no reporting requirement on either side of the transaction, so to speak. Okay? Simple enough. Kind of piggybacking off of that. So we used to provide holiday gifts to all of our clients. They were always under $25, so there was no reporting requirements. But ever since COVID, we kind of had to pivot away from that. Just for, if you guys recall, there was a lot of logistical issues in that. So we've since been making charitable donations in each of our clients' names. So we'd like to continue that practice this year. We'll be making a donation probably in the next week or two before the new year, before the holidays anyway. You don't have to say, there's no action required on behalf of the board. Unless you don't want us to do it, then certainly tell us. But if otherwise, we try and make the donations, keep the donations apolitical for obvious reasons. So we donate to local food banks around the state. There's 3 food banks that we'll donate to. One kind of northern Florida up by Jacksonville, one in center Florida here, or a little bit over in Orange County, and then one in South Florida in Broward County. So. Just again, no action necessary, but just want to let you know that we'll be making that donation in each of your board's names. Okay, and then some educational opportunities coming up for the board. The FPPTA, Florida Public Pension Trustees Association, for our newer trustees, it's kind of the statewide education organization for public pensions and trustees. They have a trustee seminar coming up February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd over in Orlando. I believe registration is open, so if anybody's interested in going, that may be a good one to go to since it's relatively close by. But either way, obviously, stay at the hotel, gas, mileage. You guys aren't going to take a flight, but that's all reasonable expenses and covered by the plan. So if anybody's interested in going, certainly I encourage you to try
Our
and
meeting
attend.
is on the 3rd.
That's true.
Oh, that is true. Well, so, I mean, for whatever it's worth, I don't think you have to reschedule it, but the 3rd, if you are going to go to the conference, I'm just kind of mentioning it, the 3rd is really, it's usually over by about noon or so. There's nothing really that goes on that day. I say nothing. There's a legal panel that I'm on. I kind of buried the lead on that. But, so, what I meant by that is there's, I don't think if you guys if you were to miss that, as much as I would be heartbroken, I think you'll be okay with missing it.
Okay.
Question on the training, if that's during the week, if we're scheduled to work that day, do we have to take PTO to go to these trainings, or is that something that the city, we can still get?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, so typically, and we represent about 140 plants, just like you guys. Typically, the city, the employer, will not make trustees take vacation time for that. But that's something that you guys would have to discuss with your employer. That's not, that's employer-employee kind of policy. We don't really have much say in that. I will say, it's not, common practice is that, you guys are allowed to go. Obviously, it's a police and fire board, and there's two, respectively, right? There's 2 police officers, 2 firefighters who are required to be on the board. So that's never been an issue. I don't think in the past it's been an issue here, but.
I just wanted to.
No, yeah, it's a good question.
It's a question that we've asked over in the past and didn't get a real clear answer, so, for LT to
Okay.
knowledge and everything.
I mean, I'm happy to, I don't know if it'll be better or worse. I'm happy to follow up with the PD if you like. I mean, I don't know if that would help or not, but
I'll let
you
know.
could talk to me. I'll talk to you guys offline and we could figure something out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
How would you register for this conference, Pedro?
So you can do it, do you typically register, or they just kind of do it
They do it
themselves?
themselves.
Okay, so I can send you the link. What I'll do is I'll send it to Debbie.
Send everybody the link.
Yeah, I'll send it to Debbie, and then can you
I
send it to all,
disperse it.
to all the board? So I'll send you the link, and you should be able to go right on there and register yourself.
Is this the one at the FHP building, or is this the one?
It's at the Rosen Center,
Rosen
in Orlando, so it's kind of,
Okay,
it's next to the
different, okay.
convention center, or kind of across the street
Yeah.
Okay.
from the convention center.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything for administratives?
I was just gonna say, would it be beneficial for Debbie to attend as
Yeah.
well?
Is,
I think so, but I mean, that's
well, I
not,
went to the last one.
I know, I remember,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I went there, to that one and that, but, didn't know if there was one specifically for
no.
administrators.
So there's other organizations that do have, kind of coursework geared for pension plan administrators. So the International Foundation of Employee Benefits, the IFEBP, it's a long acronym. It's probably the largest education organization in the country. It's both governmental plans such as ours and the private sector side, Taft-Hartley plans, corporate plans, et cetera. But they do have kind of a specific track for administrators.
Okay, what's the name of that thing again?
It's I can send you the link as well.
Yes,
It's
send me a link on Yes.
IFEBP is the short way to say it.
All
But
right.
yeah, I can send you a link on that.
Yes, send me a link on that.
And just for anybody who's interested, the NCEPers, it's all these acronyms, National Council of Employee Retirement Systems, or National Committee, I forget, but something like that. Great organization. They are also having a conference coming up in the spring. I can get you the dates on that, but that's out of state, so that's a little bit different. But if anybody's interested, I know we may have some more senior trustees, and maybe you want to try something else. It's a great conference to go to, and that focuses really on only governmental plans, public sector plans.
Okay. Send the link on that, just in case.
I will send it all. And that's it. So that's all I had for my report. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Okay, the next meeting is scheduled for February the 3rd, right here.
Yep.
And we need a motion on the police to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
Bill, Joe, all in favor? I wish you all a blessed Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Motion to adjourn on Fireside.
Motion by Dane, I'll second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye. The question for you too.
Yes.
But it doesn't, somebody voting on it. or not.
Okay, let me go ahead and get these.